You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. This episode is brought to you by the entertainment payroll company Extreme Reach. They have beautiful software and services to support all areas of media and content creation, from tax incentive support to accounting software and payroll services. If you are making film and television, you should call them and tell them I sent you. They are committed to diversity and promoting women, and the fact that I'm telling you about them means that they have put their money where their mouth is. Let's reward them for that. Now for this episode, I sat down with Terri Edda Miller. Terri is the creator and executive producer of Take Two, a one-hour drama on ABC that is showing its season finale tonight, September 13th. So tune in for that, after you listen to this. Prior to Take Two, Terri was the executive producer of the hit ABC series Castle, and she was the director of an independent film that landed at Sundance. And before that, she won the prestigious Nicholl Fellowship in Screenwriting from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which is a very big deal. And she also had a meet cute there, but you'll have to hear the story. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. Now, I've been plugging the Kiss My Age show, which is now 3 episodes in. It's the show where women of a certain vintage, grown-ups, talk about all the things that matter. And if you fall into that category, please join the Facebook group and join the conversation. All right, here's my conversation with Terri. Have a listen. What do you do?
I am a writer, producer, showrunner of a TV show called Take Two right now, and I was executive producer of a TV show called Castle, and I have written, directed, and produced short films that have been at a number of festivals, Sundance, Tribeca, all over the world.
How lucky am I to have you in my dining room right now? Let's talk about your current show first.
Okay.
Take Two on ABC.
Yes.
The day that this airs, September 13th, is your season finale.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about
It's our
that show.
13th episode on the 13th of September.
That all seems very auspicious.
It does.
So
13's always been a very lucky number for me.
Let's talk a little bit about the show. I've been watching it, and I think it's really fun and adorable. Can you describe it?
The show is about a young woman named Sam Swift, who is an actress. When we meet her, is just coming out of rehab. And she starred in a TV show for 8 years as a cop. Mm-hmm. So her show got canceled, and her fiance dumped her on the red carpet
Rude.
After she got the word that the show was not going to be on the air anymore. And she went into a tailspin because it was the first time in her life since she was a teenager that she hadn't been working, and her world was just, she didn't know what to do with herself, and it was the first time she could go out and play. Mm-hmm. So she went on a little rumspringa.
I love that word.
And when we meet her, she's just recovering from that period of her life. And she's hoping to get back in, but her agent tells her, there isn't a place for you because nobody will hire you, nobody can insure you. But there's this one independent project that this director, who has always loved your shows, wants you to play the PI in. And so Sam, wanting to resurrect her career and be a better person, says, I'm going to be the best PI anybody has ever seen.
She's a very hard worker.
Yes. And will you please hook me up with that PI that you used to sleep with?
Yeah. Of course. Who's a very handsome man.
Yes. And so her agent manager, great girlfriend Sid, hooks her up with his PI, who really doesn't want her following around. But the PI, who's played by Eddie Cibrian, Eddie Valetic, he owes Sid a huge favor. So he agrees to take Sam on for one case so that she can follow him, so she can shadow him.
Yeah, so this dumb actress can just follow him around who doesn't know anything, right?
Right, and learn how to be a PI. And as it turns out, she has a lot of valuable information. And some of it is good, and some of it is not. But the thing is that Sam Swift, our lead character, is really smart. And she really wants to do good in the world. And what she discovers going through her first case with Eddie is that doing this made her feel really good to be able to help somebody else. And she wants to feel more of that and do more of that. And of course, her manager sees it only through a business perspective, like, well, this could be really good for you. Just keep doing good and being on the front page of the newspaper. But the thing is, because Sam and Eddie solved the case together and were on the front page of the newspaper, people start calling Eddie again, who was kind of down and out at the time Sam started working with him, because he'd pulled back a little bit from his business, right, from something that happened to him in his life. So really, this is a story about Sam and Eddie both looking for a shot at redemption. But when people start calling his office, they don't want to see just Eddie.
They're looking for her too.
They're looking for her too. So he's forced to call her, and they start working together. And that's how the series begins.
That's great. So can we go back to kind of the beginning? How did you become a writer in the first place? How did you get in?
Well, I always wanted to be a writer. I started writing stories for myself when I was about 8 years old. But I've had several different periods of my life where I've done different things and been different things that have led me to the place I am now, and have all contributed, although they're different.
Isn't it wonderful when you get to that point, you look back and you're like, oh, this all makes sense.
I did get to that point. Oh, this all makes perfect sense now. And it was actually a little while back when I started directing my short films that I had that realization. But my very first job in the industry, it was an intern position where I was getting course credit from college at the same time, and it was actually at ABC.
Ooh, are we having a full circle moment?
Yes.
Where were you in school?
I was at the Claremont Colleges. I was at Pitzer.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got this internship, and it was in broadcast standards at ABC at the time, which was a really interesting experience, because I basically got to work on every single show that ABC had at the time. And I learned a lot, and I was doing story reports and book reports for their legal department on all the books and stuff that came in, and just meeting everybody and seeing how the business worked.
What an interesting job.
It was a really interesting job. And
like, what does that department do? Broadcast standards.
Well, it's very different now than it was then, but basically they go through all the scripts and make sure there's nothing offensive or untoward that goes on the air. And for a TV network, it's much different than cable.
Yeah.
And
I bet it's evolved over the years.
It has evolved over the years. It's become much more legally entangled than it used to be, because you have to be very careful about the products that you put on the air and the way you display them. And, you know, there's 1,000 different approvals from 1,000 different places. And we work a lot with the Broadcast Standards Department on our shows to make sure that everything is appropriate. And some places are a lot pickier than others.
Now, how is that for you as a showrunner, as you're putting the show together? Are you also thinking, oh, and then the Coke can has to be in a specific place? Like, it just seems like so much other stuff on top of what you're trying to do.
I think that's dependent on who the showrunner is. For me, it's how does this fit into the narrative? How important is it to the narrative and the story we're telling? Because it's all about the storytelling. It's all about, is this appropriate for the character? Is this appropriate for the scene? Does it stand out like a sore thumb? And so what we always try to do is make it fit into the storytelling and be right for what's going on at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so you're in that job as an intern.
And then after I finished that internship and had to move on, I decided I didn't want to go back to school because I was having too much fun working.
Right.
So I finished my school. I finished college through independent studies and got my degree while I was working in various jobs in the industry. And I was working I really got my start working for a literary agency as an agent's assistant, where I got to read all of the scripts they had in their bins of all of their clients, and I learned how all the deals worked. And this agency at the time was at the hub, really at the hub of what was going on. So I learned who all the lawyers were, who all the writers and directors were. It was really
invaluable education.
Greatest learning experiences ever. And I moved from that job to a development job, and I was working as a development exec.
Where?
At Lorimar.
So many roads started at Lorimar.
So many roads. You know, that was a long road ago that even existed.
I can't tell you how many people have told me that.
Really?
Starting at Lorimar, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
In the film, I was actually working for a man named Jack Schwartzman, who had just finished being there, and we were working on Never Say Never Again, and a bunch of other projects that were going on at the time that were there.
So you're an executive.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to hear the journey from executive to writer.
Yeah, but when I say executive, I was in my early 20s, and I was a very low level. I was a development person. I wasn't an executive.
But I mean on the studio side.
Yeah. I was very much on the studio side, and I thought, well, this is really fun. There's nothing I like more than reading books and reading scripts and talking to writers. And right. It was a fantastic job, especially for somebody, you know, in their early 20s.
Yeah.
It was like I was in heaven.
Can't believe
I was living the dream.
For sure.
And then I went to a couple other development jobs. My next development job was working as a development head for a guy named Ibrahim Musa. And I associate produced a film with him called Gabriella Cloven Cinnamon, which starred Sonia Braga and Marcello Mastroianni.
Oh my God.
And that was just a fabulous experience.
I'm going to write that down because I'm going to watch that later. Gabriella Cloven Cinnamon?
Yes. And then I got pregnant.
As you do.
As it happens. And I got pregnant with twins.
Okay.
So
how did that go?
Well, I thought that I would just be able to, you know, have a baby and go back to work.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it happened.
Twins seems like all hands on deck, at least for a minute.
For like more than a minute. And I was on bed rest. So I took a break.
Yeah.
And that's how being an executive and a development person leads to writing. I mean, I had always written, and I was always coming up with ideas and writing them down and doing that sort of thing. And during the time after my babies were born, I was doing a lot of freelance gigs. I did freelance development, all kinds of crazy jobs.
Now, did it feel like you had to leave your job because you got pregnant because you felt like, I can't do all of this, or was there any external pressure where they're like, you're done, lady, go home?
No, there was no you're done, lady, go home. It was me and physically.
And life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to stop. And then, you know, once they were born, it's like, oh, well, I could go back to work, but I don't want to leave them. And that was a choice that I made.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be with them. And I have never regretted it.
Right, and who can blame you? They're delicious.
I know, but I have a lot of girlfriends who continued working, whether they had single babies or twins or triplets. A lot of people who went back to work and do not regret it either. I mean, it's a choice for the individual to make, and it works both ways.
Oh, for sure. And I think the whole point of feminism is to have that choice.
I think so, too.
Do what you want to do.
I think feminism is all about choice.
Yeah.
And all about being on equal ground as every other creature on the planet.
Right?
Right.
Outrageous. Okay.
I know. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you did a bunch of jobs.
Yes.
While your kids were small.
Yes, I did a lot of freelance writing. I did some documentary work for behind-the-scenes shows, for Hallmark, for IBM, that kind of thing, research for documentaries. I did a lot of freelance reading for people, and I did some kid videos with some friends.
Fun.
Yes. And then when my kids started nursery school, I started writing.
Fantastic.
And then the first screenplay I wrote won the Nicholl Fellowship in Screenwriting.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. What was
Yeah,
that?
but it's the first one. It's the first screenplay I wrote, which is an amazing thing. But if you think about it, I'd had years of experience.
Oh, for sure. You'd been writing and writing and
Yeah.
developing.
Yeah. A lot of people say, oh, you know, it was just the first thing I did and it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No.
It never comes out of nowhere.
I just like to say to people who are just starting out, it doesn't just happen like that.
Right.
It happens because of things that you've read and things that you've done and people that you've talked to and all the writers that I talked to and all the scripts that I read and all the homework that I did before that I didn't think of as homework. It was just trying to get ahead in the world.
Yeah. Now, did that script get made?
It didn't get made. It got bought, and it was in development for a long time at Disney, actually. My world keeps going back to Disney. It's the strangest thing.
Now, I think I read something that at that award ceremony, you met your current partner.
That's right.
Tell us that story.
Well, the Nicholl Fellowship, first of all, for a writer is a dream come true because it's one of the most prestigious writing awards you can win, and it gives you a chance to write. It gives you visibility in the business. And
because it's given out by the Academy.
it's the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
Yes, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And winning, you walk into a room. This is where I met my husband, is that they have an initial luncheon for you for the winners that year. And every year there's 4 or 5, or now they are accepting teams that win, 4 or 5 or 6 people who actually win the fellowship. And you walk into this room at the Academy, and sitting around the table are Jack Lemmon, Robert Wise, Eva Marie Saint, Julian Blaustein, Faye Kanan, idols.
Are you freaking out?
Totally. What I was feeling at that moment was the purest joy and feelings of grace that I have ever felt in my life.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. It was just a great moment.
It makes you cry a little bit.
No, just a little verklempt.
It's so great. Like, I can imagine what that feels like.
It felt incredible, and I think
it's like the moment your dreams come true.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's one of those precipices that can launch your life and your career and your dreams.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was this great moment of grace, and I think that all the other people that were there who had won were equally astounded by the room that they'd walked into. And one of the other people who had won that year was Andrew Marlowe, who came up to me at one point during the luncheon when we were all chatting and said, "We live in the same zip code, would you give me a ride?" And that ride has
There's
lasted...
your meet cute.
That's right. And that ride has lasted for 25 years.
Amazing. So at that moment, were you like, oh, he's cute? Or were you both so high from this?
I think we were pretty high from what was going on. And, you know, I had been divorced for a couple of years, and he was in a relationship, and we became friends. And so the relationship didn't form till later on down the line. We became very good friends first. We started a writing group with the other Nicholl Fellowship winners, and that's how we got to know each other.
That's great.
Yeah, so our relationship evolved from writing. And what's really cool is what we found out later on is we had each read each other's screenplays, and we had both fallen in love with one another's writing. So I think...
Did you realize it when you met each other?
We didn't really talk about it till later, but we did.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So now you're producing partners?
Yes.
Did you work on Castle together?
Yes, we did.
And your current show together?
Yes.
And then you go home every night and you're still talking to each other?
Oh, we never actually stop working.
Oh my God. Okay. So you met, you started your writing group. Yeah. Then what happened?
Then everybody, you know, I was writing romantic comedies. The romantic comedy, it was really a romantic fantasy that I had written called Bedwarmer.
That's a good title.
It got purchased, and so I was working on that. And Andrew was writing coming-of-age stuff. And we were all going to meetings. We were all meeting with the hundreds of people who were calling us now, you know, getting agents and setting ourselves up. And basically, our writing careers were launched.
Yeah, that's a good opener, getting that award, I would imagine.
It is. It was.
So then at what point, kind of walk me through, you working on scripts, selling them, also making short films?
Well, I was working on scripts. I was doing a lot of pitching, which, you know, can take up years of your life.
It's a full-time job.
It is. It is. Going on general meetings, writing spec scripts. I was writing TV spec scripts and movie spec scripts, and I was optioning some and just trying to get them made. And then there was a point where I was feeling frustrated that things weren't getting made because, you know, very tough to get a feature going.
Isn't this kind of the life of the writer? It's so hard to get things made, and you can write and sell millions of things and still.
Yeah. So I decided to start making them myself.
Aha.
I said, okay, we need to change things around a little bit. We need a new paradigm here. So I decided to make a short film, and part of the decision-making process was I had never in my life thought that I could be a director. I had always been in awe of directors, and I was at a point in my life where I thought, well, you're really afraid of that and don't think you could do it. You should probably try.
Let's face that head on.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
And how I had sold something, and I decided that I was going to take the money from that thing that I sold and put it into making a film.
Oh, smart.
Yeah. And because I wanted to experiment and see what I could do, I made a short film called My Femme Lady that was My Fair Lady meets La Femme Nikita, and it was an action musical.
I love it. My Femme Lady. Can we find that somewhere?
I don't know. I think I have it on videotape somewhere.
All right. Send me your 3/4-inch tape and
Yeah.
we'll find a machine. Okay.
I also have it on 16mm film.
Oh my God, that sounds so fun.
It was so much fun. I had so much fun, and that was the point that I was telling you about at the beginning, where I realized at that point, oh, that's what all these other things I've been doing are for, so that I could learn how to do this.
Yeah, the directing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty ambitious out of the gate to be doing musical. I assume a little action also?
Yeah, musical action.
You're like, no big whoop. I'll do it all. I'll just take it all on. Yeah, that's bananas. But
It was bananas, but it worked.
and you found your thing.
I found my thing.
Okay, and then what happened?
I made the film, lots of volunteers. I had a girlfriend who was a choreographer. I had a couple of friends who were producers. I found a great cinematographer, and we just put it together. And that film got into the Tribeca Film Festival.
Well done.
As among others. It was 22 minutes long, and what I learned from making that film is that it's better to have a short film, and it's better to have a short film with celebrities in it.
Did yours have celebrities?
No.
And it was a little too long?
Yeah.
Okay, so then did you make another one?
Yes.
Okay. Then you're like a 12-minute with celebrities.
6 minutes with celebrities.
Oh. Who'd you get? What'd you do?
I made a short film called DysEnchanted. And
Oh, with Rory.
yes. It was basically the fairy tale princesses in group therapy. I had always been a
Yes,
huge fan of
please.
fairy tales, loved fairy tales. And I thought, how much fun would it be to be in a therapy session with each of these princesses, because
yeah.
they've both been through so much, and then put a real woman in the middle of the group who thinks, in comparison to all these other princesses, she's just ordinary.
Yeah.
But she's been through all the trials and tribulations that these princesses have been through on a metaphoric basis through all time. And the moral of the story is all women are heroes in their own stories.
I love everything about what you're saying right now. Can we see that somewhere?
Yes, you can find that.
Okay.
You can't find it in the condition that I would like you to find it in, because I have the most gorgeous 35mm prints.
I'm sure. Could
I
we host a
found-
screening?
Sure, I have those in storage. And so I found the cinematographer, who was an incredible cinematographer, and we found this storytale look for it that was just gorgeous. And I had these amazing actors, Alexis Bledel, Laura Keitlinger, Sarah Winter, and I can't remember all the names right now, but I will tell you across the board that every woman who is in this was fantastic in their role and loved wearing the costumes.
Were they in their princess dresses?
Yes. Yes, I had a friend who got us into Bob Mackey's costume shop,
Oh my God.
and we got to do a little free shopping in there for the costumes.
Amazing.
I mean, it was because of the goodness of friends and the goodness of people who wanted to work on these films for free that they were able to get made. And that's how most of these films get made,
For sure.
is through the kindness of friends.
So then now that you had the right formula, did that help?
Well, because it played at Sundance and
You got into Sundance?
yes, which was another dream come true, by the way. It was another dream come true moment.
I haven't heard of any true independents that get into Sundance. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a good producer who helped me and who knew a lot of the women that we got into the short, which is one of the reasons that I was able to do it that way. So I want to give her props. And
What's her name?
Jennifer Klein. Okay. And it was, I don't know, I think that it just sparked people's imaginations, that they really liked it. And for me to stand up at Sundance in one of those theaters and present my film,
Thrilling.
yeah, thrilling. Another moment of grace.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky in my life to achieve some of the things I've been able to achieve.
God, how wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you're always searching for that next, that feels great.
Yeah.
What's the next thing?
Let's do this again. After DysEnchanted, I got a lot of people asking, do I want to direct? Mm-hmm. And yes, I did. And I was working on a feature for me to direct. And so I had written that film and I was trying to raise financing for that when Andrew sold Castle. And when it got picked up to pilot, that's when we started working together on it. And it was a matter of, okay, I'm going to keep trying to get this film made, but in the meantime, I want to make stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what those of us who write and direct and make films want to do, is that we want to make it.
Yeah.
And so it was a great opportunity for me to be able to.
That show.
Yeah, so I jumped on there.
Great.
It ended up being the last, well, including Take Two, 10 years of my life.
So that's what you've been doing.
That's what I've been doing.
Now, were you able to direct any of those episodes?
No, I started off actually wanting to direct, so I didn't start my first year officially on the show. I started off following Rob Bowman, who was our director on Castle, and I wanted to learn from him. So that's what I did first, is I followed Rob Bowman. Directing, and learned a lot from him, and really started officially on the show in the second year.
Great.
And actually, because I was new to TV, I worked my way up on that show, just like
You mean
everybody else.
In the writing room, you mean?
Yep.
Now, did you ever ask, I'd like to direct something here?
My intention was to direct, but what I learned was Castle was an expert level show, and it was no place for any director starting out, male or female. And that if I wanted to be successful, it would not be in my best interest to try and direct that show.
Strategic.
Yeah, it was very strategic. And it was also really clear to me that where the creative power was in the show was in the writing and producing, because television is very different from movies.
For sure.
And so that doesn't mean that I won't at some point direct my own film. And that's what I would love to direct. But I didn't, at the point I was at in my life, see myself on that circuit going from show to show as a journeyman director. I didn't see my life building up to that. And so I thought my time would be better spent focused on the writing and producing.
Yeah.
And I found that really satisfying. And I also found that I loved working with the directors who came on the show, and that I was able to work really well with the directors on the show because of the experience that I had had directing.
Yeah, you get them.
And I knew how everything worked. And I knew how everything worked on a set. Even though I will say that the learning curve from features to television is very steep.
Yeah.
It is not the same thing at all. And that's one of the things I loved most about Castle, is how much I learned.
Yeah. Is that the best job you ever had?
No. The best job I ever had was when I was directing my own movies.
Yeah. So
I love doing what I'm doing. I really love it. I think that show running on Take Two is one of the best jobs I've ever had. I love being a showrunner. You know, clearly, based on what I've told you, I'm a complete control freak.
It actually was not that obvious, actually.
Isn't that, no?
No.
That I love creating a vision and seeing it realized. That's my favorite thing in life. Whether it's doing a collage on a little piece of paper for a friend's birthday party, or it's making a TV show or a movie. It's all the same kind of joy, like you're sitting there creating something, and it's a great thing.
It's amazing.
When you do that and you give somebody something that they react to and they're emotionally connected to, and it's meaningful.
And out of nothing, you create a whole world. Yeah, it's amazing.
I love doing that.
I heard a panel the other day where the woman said, you know, I'm a control enthusiast. And we're like, yeah, we're taking on that term now.
Yeah, yeah.
Take away the negative connotations.
Oh, freak is not a negative connotation.
It's just apt.
Yes.
Okay, tell me what is next for you.
Recharging.
Yeah.
Because we just finished the show about 2 weeks ago, finished it completely, all the post-production and everything. And we were away in Vancouver making it for 6.5 months. And so what I'm really looking forward to doing is reading some books and decompressing.
Bringing your lawn back to life.
Yes, and just recharging all my creative energy, because it's all been poured into Take Two.
All right, so you need to take a minute.
I need to take a minute.
How old are those twins now?
They're 33.
Oh my goodness. Good job.
Thank you.
Wow.
You know, I hesitated for a minute. Do I want to say that I am a woman of a certain age? And I know you have a podcast, Women of a Certain Age, right?
I do. It's called the Kiss My Age Show.
But the thing is,
I think we should say it loud and proud.
I am.
Good.
And I have done a gazillion things to get to where I am. And it all takes time.
And you are still vibrant and effective and successful, and for God's sake.
Yeah.
Women
so
should still be working.
I have grown-up kids, and I
Yeah.
have 2 grandchildren.
Take that. All right, so tell me, what do you make of women in this moment in entertainment and or the country and or the world?
I am simultaneously in pain for women in this moment, and just excited for women in this moment, because I feel like we're going through a crucible, and that it's going to take a lot of strength to come out on the other side of it. I think that I don't want to get heavily into politics, but
You wouldn't be the first one.
I think what's going on right now is abhorrent, because I was part of that feminist wave who burned my bra and, you know, fought for women's rights, and had girlfriends in junior high and high school who needed abortions, who got in a lot of physical trouble, who became sick because of things that they had to do. And I'd hate to see that happen again.
And can you believe we're here now?
I can't believe it. I raised my daughter to be a strong woman, and she is. And now I have a granddaughter, and I don't want either of them having to go through what we had to go through in the 70s and 80s. You know? Because if you look at the statistics in the industry about women who write features, women who direct features, and look at the statistics in the Senate and the House, which are getting much better, which is one of the things I'm so excited about.
We're hoping they're about to be a lot better.
Yes, but you know, it still was a problem. It wasn't settled, and anybody who said, "Oh, we did it," was wrong.
It was like there was a little bit of progress, so everyone relaxed. So then the numbers just went right back down.
Yeah.
We really have to persist all the time until we're exhausted.
We have to persist.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are persisting.
What advice do you have, say, for women just starting out?
I would say that for women just starting out, that you have to have a tremendous amount of grit to be in this industry. You have to be able to absorb rejection again and again and again. You have to be able to take no for an answer, and then be able to not take no for an answer.
And to discern when?
Yes, and you have to figure it out. You have to keep going. You have to be really persistent and incredibly resilient and incredibly strong. You have to have strong values. You have to have clear goals, and you have to make great friends and relationships wherever you go. Help other people. Be true to yourself. I think that's probably one of the most important things in a creative career, is that in the product that you create, that you are true to your soul. And that's when you create the most beautiful things.
Let's go back for a minute to what you said about learning to be able to take no and to know when not to take no. How do you do that?
You learn that from experience, and from keeping your eyes open, and from seeing where the possibilities are. Like if somebody says no to you, you can find a different approach. You can find a different way in. You can find a different way to ask the questions or to present yourself. For me, as an example, where I was getting no's, I decided to make my own films. I decided you have to change the paradigm. And I believe that you can always alter what you're doing, you can always change your goals, or you can always change yourself to achieve your goals in whatever way you need to. And that getting the things that you want, finding those moments of grace in your career and your life, are all about not giving up and believing and finding a way to those places. But it's all hard work. It never stops being hard work. It's still hard work.
For sure it is. How do you think about, as a showrunner, you're in that leadership position. How do you think about leadership?
I think about leadership in what I do in terms of being a great listener and a great collaborator and a great decision maker. It's really important to know exactly what you want. I always know what I want going in. And then I listen to the people that I'm working with who have very specific skills in different departments about their ideas, and being able to take the best ideas and making them all work together on a large collaborative scale. To me, that's what being a leader is all about, is bringing everybody together to one idea with all the best possible ideas pulled together in that way.
did you have to adjust anything in your style to get there as you went along? Did you think, I need to adjust this or adjust that?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I think that I don't know, I think some of my friends and my children and my husband would laugh if they heard me say this, but I think I'm pretty easygoing.
Cue laughing family.
Yes, cue laughing family. But just, I'm very friendly. I love to talk to people and hang out with people. And I think to do what I do, that I have to have a professional distance in order to be that person. Because as a leader, you have to be the one leading the charge, and you have to make people feel confident that they can trust you to lead them to the right place. And that includes the actors and the other writers and all the crew, everybody down the line.
You can't be making friends with them and confiding in them. I'm feeling really insecure about this decision right now, but we're going to go with it.
No, you can't. You can't.
No, that's what you call your friend for.
That doesn't mean you can't be friends outside of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like the people that I work with. I really like all these people, which is one of the reasons I love what I do, is I love hanging out with all these creative people.
Yeah.
But I think that when you're a leader, you have to have the presence to make people feel confident that you are going to lead them in the right direction.
For sure. So they don't have to worry about it and feel like they have to step in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear about your concerns or troubles.
No. They want you to handle it.
Yes. Handle it. But I like doing that. I like handling it.
Yeah. Because you're a control enthusiast.
That's right.
And you have a clear vision.
That's right.
Leadership qualities. Those are all good things. Oh, I was going to ask you, as you were talking before, do you have any particular spiritual practice? Just the way that you were describing these moments of grace sounded very almost like meditative.
I'm generally spiritual in that I don't have a specific belief in any particular greater being, but I do believe in the human spirit. If there's any belief, there's that. I believe in the human spirit, and I believe that we all have the ability to make ourselves the best human being that we can be, but it's not always easy.
It's hardly ever easy.
No.
Now, going back to kind of this moment for women and this great reckoning, at some point, I think we're going to have to engage men in the solution. Do you have any thoughts about how we do that, or even if it's necessary?
There are really good men in the world.
Yeah.
And they are our allies. And they are, like, my partner in life is one of the best men I've ever known. And I think that there are a lot of men who have been brought up by very strong mothers, who have a lot of the beliefs that we do. I think that it starts at a young age, teaching the boys how to be partners with the girls in the world, and teaching the girls that they're not any different, giving them the same opportunities, working with the language that we give them. And, you know, I heard something in the statistics that 17% of cartoon characters have female leads, 17%. And I think it's probably grown a little, you know, in the Doc McStuffins age.
Right. Dora.
And Dora was
still hardly any.
She was not just an explorer.
She did everything.
She did everything. Well, she was a revolutionary.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a lot about what we teach our kids growing up. But I think that there are a lot of men in this world who are allies, and we should not look at them as the enemy.
Right.
Because there are some whose minds need to be changed, or who need to find a different perspective to look at the world because they've been brought up in a certain way. But I think there's a lot of men. There were so many men at the Women's March in Washington.
Yeah.
There were so many.
And in LA.
And in LA and everywhere. There are a lot of great men in the world. They are our allies. They're feminists too. A lot of them were wearing a t-shirt that said that.
There's hope.
I believe that there's hope. I believe that a lot of the young men coming up in the world now are stronger and better allies for the future.
Yeah, good.
I think it's about school, it's about what they see on TV and in all the other media that we're looking at.
Well, it's constant conditioning from birth.
Yeah.
It's a big cultural shift.
I think all the creators have a responsibility to show who people are and what they can be, and show equality between the sexes. And the things that they do. I mean, we were really proud of our detective Beckett in Castle, because she was created to be somebody who had that job as a detective. And she just was. It wasn't that she was fighting against anybody to have that job. It wasn't that she was declaring herself, I am woman, hear me roar. It was that she was that person.
And it's normal.
And it's normal. And there's nothing out of the ordinary. And everybody respects her. And she's strong and she's real. And she can love and she can have friends and she can be a powerful entity in the world. And we're really, really proud of her.
Yeah, good. More of that, please.
Yes. I think a lot of young girls really, really liked her a lot and used her as a role model. And Stana Katic did an amazing job portraying her.
Well, if you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah.
It's so important.
That's right. And I think there's more and more of that happening now.
Yeah, good.
Especially with all the media that's available. And like there's 500 stories out there right now being made for television and YouTube and movies and all of that stuff. So many narratives out there. And I think there's going to be more and more that show a new world and a better world, despite what's going on in Washington.
That'll be like the last place to get on board. But we'll get there eventually. So is there anything I didn't ask you about that I should have asked you about?
Well, there is something that is very dear to my heart that I've been involved with for a long time that is part of everything that I've done and everything that I've learned along the way, which is the Young Storytellers organization. And it's something that I started doing about 15 years ago. And it's an organization that's been around for about 20 years. And what they are people who help discover and amplify the voices of kids who need to tell their stories or teach them how to tell their stories and give them a voice.
I love it.
It's just the best thing, one of the best things I'm involved in my life. And I started out as a mentor there about 15 years ago, basically a foot soldier where I went in and we teach kids one-on-one about how to write a script. And we do it through games and through teaching things about character and story and place and, you know, what's the moral of the story? What have you learned from all this? And the kids are mostly in public schools and they're underserved with teaching in the arts. And we go into the schools during the school day and spend an hour with them for 10 weeks. And in that period of time, these kids write their own story in a script, and then professional actors come in and perform them for their parents and their friends and the rest of the school. And these kids who never in a million years thought they would like writing learn that they have a voice and that it's something that has people respond to it, and it helps them understand more about themselves, and it gives them confidence. And it's just, I love it because it's hands-on and you can see the difference it makes in a child's life. And it's as good for the mentors as it is for the kids. So I started out there, and now at this point in time, I'm on the executive board of Young Storytellers and helping the organization grow. So that's something that's been really important to me in my career and in my life, because I think giving back is probably one of the best things we can all do.
Absolutely. A friend of mine's daughter just went through that program, and both of them talked about how incredible it was.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, over the last 20 years, we've been in so many schools in LA, affected 1,200 students, gone to middle and high schools. And there's a college program where college students can learn how to actually teach the program where they are. It's so much fun.
Oh, fantastic. That's incredible.
Yeah.
How can people find it?
They can go online at www.youngstorytellers.com.
Great.
I mean, the reason that I loved it is that I wanted to find something that matched my skill sets. And this just, whenever I get involved, I so wish I would have had that as a kid.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It's invaluable.
Oh, it's life-changing, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially in the world we have now where things must be so confusing when you're 10 or 11 years old. And,
yeah.
You know, so much crap is going on all over the world that they can tell the story about their world from their point of view. Invaluable.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of storytelling, September 13th, what time?
10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, and Central and Mountain Time, probably at 9.
Okay. It's the Take Two season finale.
And people should watch it because it's going to be explosive.
Okay, we're on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Terri Edda Miller for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And also go subscribe to the Kiss My Age show. Thanks for listening. See you next time.